Hey everyone, welcome to today's tutorial. Today we are going to be working with the Say Cheese Halloween collection from Simple Stories. We're going to need 4 sheets of cardstock. So from Basil we have Blackberry Swirl, which is the black. We have 2 of those. We have Lime Crush, which is that green color, and then we have Boysenberry Delight, which is that nice purple color. So this pattern paper pack includes 12 by 12 pattern papers that are different on each side, along with a 12 by 12 sticker sheet, which we are going to be used for embellishments a little bit later on in our video. So now here I'm just going to go through all of our cardstock or pattern paper, and we're going to go ahead and pick. We need 2 accent papers along with 4 background papers, so we're going to be making 4 single page layouts today. So I'm going to go ahead and start off by eliminating all of our journaling card pieces. So our 2 by 2 elements, 4 by 6 elements, 4 by 4 and 3 by 4 journaling card pieces. So we're going to remove those 4 sheets of paper. Now we're going to go ahead and pick 4 backgrounds and 2 accent papers. So here I'm just kind of looking through the front and the back sides of the different pattern papers. And if I don't like a backside, I'll make sure to leave that side flipped down. And if I like both sides, right now I'm just kind of going through them. So first of all here, I really like this pattern, or this striped paper. It incorporates all the different colors and it always stands out on all the other patterns. So we're going to go ahead with that one for our first accent paper. And judging by my cardstock, I really am into the purple and green part of it, but with these 2 oranges, I decided to pull these out because I want to use orange as my second accent paper, just because I think if I pulled out something that was purple or green or black, it would just, all the pages would look like they were blending a little bit too much together. So I figured that that orange paper would be a perfect other accent color. I went ahead and used the bats instead of the dots just because I thought it was more relevant to the Halloween theme. So I went ahead and went with that instead. So now here I'm stuck with these last 5 papers here as background papers. So I for sure like this spider purple paper as a background. I want to incorporate that purple color, and I like the spider, so we're going to go ahead with that. And we're also going to go ahead with the tombstone black and gray paper here. And then this paper, I love the balloons, but I think I think that the striped paper just doesn't stand out on it enough. And I do love the monster eyes here. So we're going to go ahead with that for a background paper. Now I have these 2 papers left. I decided that I'm going to go ahead with the black side. I'm just not sure which one here. I really struggled with trying to figure out which paper that I wanted for my second or my 4th background paper. And I did like this paper, but I felt like the fireworks stood out the most on it, and they had the castle in there, and I just didn't want that for my Halloween pages. So I went ahead and picked the paper that says Halloween on it instead. I felt like it had just more vibes for Halloween for me. If you are doing themed pages for a theme park visit, then it might be a better idea to go with the other paper. I just like this paper a little bit more. So those are my selections for this week's tutorial. We have cutting diagrams in my tutorial videos, and I just kind of want to let you know how to read them. So there's the number in top in inches, and that's going to be the size that we're going to cut that cut piece into. And there's a number below it in a circle. So a lot of the times we're making 4 pages or 6 pages when we're using these cutting diagrams, and all these cut pieces can sort of get very disorganized. So that number inside of the circle there represents a pile that you're going to put that cut piece into. So for a 4-page tutorial, we're going to make 4 piles, And for a 6-page tutorial, we're going to make 6 piles. So the numbers are going to be either 1 through 4 or 1 through 6. So page 1 is going to have all the cut pieces that have a circle with the number 1 inside, and so on for the 4 or 6 pages. So now we're going to go ahead and take all pieces of our cardstock, and we are going to cut 1 inch in, 1 inch from the top, and 1 inch from the bottom. And we're going to make a straight line on all 4 sides of each of these pieces of cardstock. What we're basically doing is cutting a 10 by 10 inch square out of the center of this piece of cardstock. The border is going to be put into our pile, and the center, the 10 by 10 inch center, is going to be put to the side, and we're going to be cutting it with another cutting diagram as soon as we're done cutting out all of these squares. Now we're going to go ahead and cut the backgrounds for our pages. So we are going to be cutting the barcode strip off along with 1/2 inch, and then 1/2 inch on the other side. So we're going to be making an 11.5 inch by 11.5 inch square for all of our background papers. Okay, so now we're gonna prep and get ready to embellish our pages. So before I start the embellishment process, I put the 12 by 12 page in front of me so that I can put all of my die cut pieces around me. Then I always have that blank spot on the table for where my page is gonna go, and I have everything else out in front of me so I can see sizes, colors, shapes, and I just find that I'm more inspired when everything is out in front of me like that. I also prep all of my journaling cards if I'm gonna choose to use them. So most of the time, if I know that I'm gonna be using leftovers and do like a pocket page later, what I'll do is I'll cut everything up, including my spare 12 by 12 pattern paper. So that's what I did this time. I cut up all my 4x4, 3x4, 4x6 journaling cards, and then my spare pieces of paper here, I cut them up as well into 4x6 sizes. Okay, so any leftover embellishments are going to be used in my 2012 pocket page album. I'm not sure if I'm going to do a video with that yet using this collection, but we'll see. So here, this tombstone, which was on a actually it's not a tombstone. It might be a coffin, actually. Anyways, it's a little bit bigger than the die cut version of the same coffin. And I just cut it out of a 4x4 journaling card, and I'm gonna use that on my page. I just felt like I wanted to put it on the page, but I thought it would look better a little bit bigger in a little bit bigger size. So in order to anchor this on my page, I really wanted to incorporate this striped purple paper. So it's actually the back side, I believe, of the 2x2 inch element pattern paper. So I went ahead and put that coffin on top of this. I trimmed this down to about a 4x4 inch size, that purple striped paper, and now I'm just layering on top of it. So I was actually inspired to do this with the tombstones by that 4x6 journaling card you see in the upper right corner. See how that whole scene on that 4x6 card is kind of mimics sort of what I'm doing here on top of this 4x4 photo mat area. So I kind of use that as inspiration. Okay, so now that what I did is I went and popped up two of those tombstones. So I popped this one up in front of that coffin, and I also popped up the one on the outer edge that has the bat on it. So now here I took this die cut piece, and I'm just popping it up, and I'm gonna put it above the tombstone, sort of make it look like there's sort of like a ground area and then a sky area, even though that's not really how it's gonna work out on the page. I just thought it looked best like that. And then here I took this chipboard titling that says spooky, and I popped up this little pumpkin to put beside it. I need to put a little bit of something on the outside edge of all those 3x3 photos, but it's probably just going to be one single element just to make it look like there's something on that side of the page, just to create a little bit more balance. And then what I love about Simple Stories is that they do these little strip titles or strip like collection of words, and I just love those because I feel like you can really finish off a cluster with elements like that. So you can finish off a cluster using those words, and I feel like it ties in the theme of the page so well when you can utilize those things. So here I actually lowered down those bats. I thought they were a little bit too high, and I decided to incorporate two of those. There's two chipboard stars there that I put kind of on the outside edges of those bats. Finished off that last page by putting a chipboard spider just on the outside edge of those 3x4 photos. Okay, so here I'm just deciding to start my cluster at the bottom of these photos with that postcard die cut journaling piece. So I'm gonna kind of, even though I don't really want to use it for journaling, because it is maybe a little bit too small to journal with, I'm going to choose to put the date on top of this postcard. So I'm going to use that. If you notice, there's a die cut that says 31. I'm going to use this page to anchor, or that postcard to anchor that 31. So what I did is I put that postcard, I tucked it underneath those photo areas, and I made it flat on the page. And then I layered around it, or I clustered around it with the chipboard pumpkins. And then I popped up this titling that says, Frankly Frightful. And then I adhered directly to that postcard, the 31. And then I thought it was a nice touch to put that little boy that's holding the balloon that says So Spooky. And his shirt says So Spooky. But what I did is I only popped up the balloon part, and I adhered him directly to that black photo mat. Okay, so I wanted to incorporate the balloons again a little bit higher up on the page. So what I went ahead and did is took this chipboard cluster of balloons, and then I adhered it directly to the page and put this die cut pumpkin on top of it, just to make it look like there was sort of like a pumpkin on the ground and then balloons sort of in the background. And then I popped up this a sticker that says Trick or Treat and flanked it with two popped up bats as well. Okay, so for this page here, what I decided to do is create 3 cluster zones. So I wanted to make one at the top, I wanted to make one underneath that 4x6 photo area, and I also wanted to make another one on the left side, so on the outside of those 3x3 photos, that line that has the 3x3 photo area. So when I think in my head about the cluster that I want to put beside the 3x3 photos on the outside of them, I always think that I want to do a small cluster there. And actually today it ended up being a little bit bigger. But so underneath that 4x6 photo, I left a little spot to put just the date. I didn't leave a lot of room for journaling. It's a kind of a small journaling element. So I don't journal a lot when it comes to my Halloween pages. So what I did is I put this chipboard banner underneath that 4x6 photo area, and I also popped up a sticker that says October 31st. And then that's sort of like the start of that cluster for me. The other start of my top cluster, it says No Tricks, All Treats, and I'm going to put some elements in there that are relevant to like snacks or eating. Okay, and I also like those arrows because I just thought it brought some focus to that element. And then I had decided to put this boy that has a vampire costume as my third cluster beside those 3x3 photos. Okay, and I layered the spider web behind him, and I also popped up this spider just to give it a little bit of layering and depth. And here I'm trying to incorporate some of the food elements that you can get as die cuts in with this collection. Okay, and these are kind of more relevant to, so my pictures for this page are going to be about my kids eating their Halloween treats, and they're going to have their costumes on. That's sort of the inspiration for this page. So as much as like Halloween pages are one of my favorite things, but the actual Halloween actual Halloween is actually one of my least favorite things, because I despise the work that goes into Halloween, like buying a costume or making one. I feel like costumes, generally speaking, are so cheaply made. And not that I would want to pay more for a good quality one anyways, but I just feel like it's like you spend this money and it lasts one day, and the kids never want to reuse their costumes. So it just, and if you do decide to not buy one, then you have to put the effort into being creative making one. And it's one of those things, like as much as I love scrapbooking it because I love using Halloween paper, like the actual holiday itself is not one of my favorite things, that's for sure. So as you can see, I just kind of went through there and I finished off all those clusters. You can definitely see still pictures on my blog. So if you want to see more details close up, that's a great way to do that. And here for our final page, I wanted to incorporate that minty green color. Now it seems right now like that color right there of that 3x4 journaling box it feels like it's so out of place and it doesn't suit anything else. But I'm gonna try and pull together some accents and cluster around it so it's not so prominent, to make it really look like it's gonna stand out and work on this page. But I really love that green color on top of the purple. It was probably one of my favorite combinations when I looked at what I might do with this page. So I wanted to tame that color down a little bit, but still incorporate it. So what I went ahead and did here is decided with this page that I would sort of just make a big, I would try to use accents to fill up the whole bottom of that page there. And then I would just use these simple elements like these bats along the top to finish off the top of the page as well. And what I love about using arrows is I feel like the arrow on the outside, between those two pictures there, it sort of draws your focus back to the photo or whatever it is that you want to point it at. So for me, this was just about sort of finishing or using that arrow to make your eye kind of go back towards the center, which is where all the pictures are. Okay, so these bats here are, the one in the top corner is actually a chipboard, so it's just adhered directly, but I popped up the other set of bats that are above that 3x4 photo area, and then I decided to use these sets of balloons to flank this 3x4 photo area. So what I did is I popped up just the balloons on the top, and I adhered the bottom directly onto that 3x4 journaling area, and then I popped up this pumpkin on top of the bottom of those balloons. Okay, I also popped up this sign that says Happy Halloween, and I put this orange pumpkin behind it just to create another layer, and then I popped up this banner along the bottom of that 4x4 photo area, and I finished off all of these elements with these little strips of journaling or strips of titling, these words that Simple Stories always has that I love. So I decided to pick as many things as I could that incorporated that mint green color. Okay, so the bottom says Something Wicked, and then it says Under Your Spell and Fabulous. And then I just go ahead and finish off this page by placing these spiders. I adhered them directly to the page, and I just put 3 of them sort of in a triangle along with some of those clusters that were already started. Thank you guys so much for watching this week. We will see you next Friday with another Halloween tutorial, another collection from Simple Stories. We will see you next Friday. Hope everyone has a great weekend.